Good evening, everybody. It's Zangoku, and I got myself, you really can't see it, hard cider. Hard cider. Don't worry, it's the last bottle. Um, that doesn't mean I've been drinking it all day. No, it's actually I've had this bottle for about like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Uh, so I drank the rest of it earlier, but actually I shared it with a bunch of people. Anyways, whatever. Um, it's actually a decent night tonight. About 69, 68 degrees out. With a noticeable breeze, so it is not entirely what you would call warm. It is a cool night, um, but it's pleasant. Um, yeah, I know. It was like 60, 68 is cool. I'm like, yeah, well, comparison to like, 80 degrees, it's definitely cooler. Ah, anyways, um, yeah. So a lot of things may have happened since my last stream talking about the war within. And now you're looking at this and you're like, oh, I have been defeated. And so I guess, I don't know, what does that mean? Does it mean a defeat within the war within, or is it something else? Well, it actually goes back. I mean, it's all related. It's all related, but yeah, it's going back to when picking up. It's all related. All goes back to the same thing. Me being an idiot. Love. That's it. That's what it is. You know? That's what it's been for well over a year. And things happening during that time really haven't helped. But so back when I was sharing my poetry, uh, especially that last poem, the poem that started out as a love poem that turned into a doubtful, pessimistic, sad ending one. When I was doing that video, I was trying to talk about, the feelings behind the poem and why I wrote the lines and, what, all the motivations and whatnot. One of them was, to fight, to fight for what I wanted, to fight for what I was feeling. Basically, it was to fight for love, the love that I felt. To continue to fight for, in my mind, a future that I want, a future with her. And in some ways, that fight represented more than just, a fight for love, a fight for her. It kind of represented a fight for myself. It wasn't just You know, I was fighting because she was worth it. I was fighting because I wanted to believe I was worth it. That I was worth the fight. Lights, cars. And that's the thing, you know. Part of that battle was not just for specific, person, for like this idea, this ideal, that I am worth fighting for, that I am worth the effort, that ultimately I myself deserve the victory, because too many times in my past I feel like maybe I've given up, especially when the going gets tough. I didn't fight hard enough for what I wanted, and didn't fight hard enough for my love, my desire. And in the end, maybe I didn't fight as hard because I felt I wasn't worth it anyways. I mean, if I was, why would someone leave? If I was, why would someone reject me, If I was this wonderful guy, why would I be kept at arm's length? you know? So during that video, I talked about like how I was willing to fight. I was willing to fight, and I was willing to die on that hill. That this was, to me, like the final battle. This was like where I drew the line. I was like, I'm not getting any younger, and I firmly believe that this is what I want, and this is what I want in my life, and I was going to fight for that, and I was going to give it my all, and I was going to die trying, not technically like a literal death, more of a, philosophical, give it my best. And I said, like, until, she takes her sword and jams it into my heart, I'm gonna continue to fight. Well, unfortunately, I have to be realistic, and I have to understand that it is a battle I cannot win. And so I have been defeated. The fight is over. The battle has been lost. And now I can just sit here and try to figure out what comes next. Knowing how my life has gone, what comes next is me just not knowing what to do. It's another defeat in a long line of defeats. Never going to get to that championship, so to speak. Cheers. I'm reminded of a thing my ex told me. She never really gave me a reason why she left me. But she did say that she couldn't love me the way that I wanted her to love me. And I'm like, and I didn't understand that, and I told her that I didn't understand that, and then she's like, well, she's like, she said she couldn't love me the way that I loved her, and that I deserved to be loved the way that I loved her. And I'm like, and I'm just, it was a confusing thing. And so, I mean, I can understand, you know, feelings change, perspectives change. But was she uncomfortable that, like, I loved her more than she loved me? And I've heard a lot of times that relationships, there's never an equal amount generally. You know, there's always one person who loves more, you know. There's one who usually shows passion more. There's, you know, it's people aren't, you know, it's impossible to get like that equilibrium. And I don't know if she felt guilty, and maybe she did. And so, you know, she would say something like that, you know, like, you know, you deserve to be loved as much as you love me. And apparently she didn't love me as much as I loved her. And I don't know if maybe that was the entire problem. It's hard to say. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice. See, I really need like some sort of like notification that someone's like um, left a message. Fusion Lime said hi. Well, that's hi. Hi, Fusion Lime. You're not on anymore because I see that no one's watching at this moment, but I didn't mean to like not notice you. I'm kind of lost in my own world. Also said sorry to hear that, which, yeah, that was a long time ago. You know, good old 20 plus years. Holy shit. Time doesn't go by fast. Or does it? No, that's what I meant. Time goes by quick. Neighbor coming home. But If that's Fusion Lime coming back, I saw your message. I don't know. Might not be who came back, but then they just went away again. Which, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But like I said, going back, like I said, that was like 20 something years ago. And maybe I never really recovered from that. It's like there's a song by the group Shadows Fall called the Ghosts of, or was it the Ghost of Past Failures? And the chorus of that song is like, "I'm still bleeding you," which is really, which is interesting because like, do we ever not bleed those people that we love? Never go away. In fact, I had a dream about her not too long ago. It's really weird. It's really strange when she pops up into my dreams. Because, I mean, like I said, it's been many, many years since I've last even seen her. In fact, I would say the vast majority of my life has been without her in it. And yet she's made such an impact that she still shows up like a ghost haunting. Someone will probably hear that and say, "Oh yeah, you must not have gotten over it." I mean, I don't want her back. Even if she were to somehow magically appear in front of me, I'd be like, nah. Nah. But, anyways, still got some left. Chilling out, relaxing with my thoughts. My thoughts. But this isn't about her, but it is about this concept. Will I ever actually be loved as much as I've loved someone else? I mean, that's always been the question, right? Because I know, like, people when they say, I will never love again, I'll never love again, or how could I possibly love again? Or they ask the question, will I ever love again? For me, unfortunately, the answer is yes. Of course I'm going to love again. Of course someone's going to show up and something's going to happen and I'm going to be moved. But the real question always has been, will I ever be loved again? And will I ever be loved to the magnitude that it'll stick, that they'll want to stay? It seems like the answer is no. It seems like the answer is always going to be no. And, yeah, I know this doesn't make for great content. Listen to me talk about feelings and stuff, but to me, this is like therapy. Just getting it out there into the wild for all the world to hear. Plus, it's therapy where I can drink some hard cider at the same time. Because, what therapist is going to allow you to drink a nice adult beverage while talking about your problems? I'll tell you, a good therapist, but they don't exist. So I just offended all the therapists out there. I'm sorry, but it's just always hard to, how do you build self-worth when it feels like you have no worth? Because people in life seem to reinforce your worthlessness. I don't know. It's hard. I know I have value. I know I have things to offer. And then the end is that enough? Is what I have to offer enough? And because it seems pretty unfair too, because so let me just say, what does, so moving back to the current situation, not the past thing. what what did she do exactly to earn my love? I mean, what was it that sparked these feelings inside me? I mean, yes, she's attractive. Even though I didn't really it's so hard to explain how she wasn't wowing me. She wasn't turning my head. She didn't have that initial spark. She's kind of plain, honestly, but I think in the context of where I interact with her, it makes sense. I don't think she dresses to attract attention. I don't think she wears clothing and does her hair and makeup, and I don't know, even, does she even wear makeup now? I wonder. Wear jewelry. I don't think she does it necessarily to attract attention. And so, she doesn't exude raw sexuality. But then again, it's work. Why would she, right? And yet there are people at work who, certain aspects of them sort of, draw attention. And she wasn't like that. So it wasn't like... So what pulled at my heart? What did it... When I think about it, honestly, there was a time, a brief time of about maybe like three or 4 months. Maybe not even, maybe only like 2 or... Anyways, there was a time where she made me feel like she wanted to be around me. And she made me feel like she wanted to interact with me. And that she wanted to be with me. Not like not like with or like any kind of like sexual way or anything like. But I mean, like most of the time, especially at work, people don't necessarily come up to me just to chit chat or whatever. Most of the time, if I'm approached, it's because they need something from me. They want something from me. They want to ask something of me. Um, I usually have to be the one to like, you know, start small talk, mark interactions. It's, it's not like people aren't friendly. It's just, it's work. People are busy. But, you know, I'm not like their like friend. I'm coworker, acquaintance. But during that time, she would she would come up to me and start conversations. She would, you know, make noises to get my attention. She was active in um, talking to me, and I noticed that. I noticed it because it was different. Only a handful of people, you know, would come to me to just have little chats, little talks, and the fact that she was doing that, it made me feel good. Made me feel special. It made me feel liked. And, the fact that, she agreed to hang out, though I was under the impression these were dates, and apparently she was under the impression that they weren't. But still, the fact that, she wanted to hang out, she wanted to do things with me, made me feel wanted. It made me feel like, I was worth it, that I had value. And I think that's probably what it was. That's the thing that was done to change my heart, because it's been such a long time since I've had feelings like that, where I felt like, someone was into me, and obviously it was all wrong, and she wasn't really into me. She just was friendly and wanted to be friends, and I misread everything like I always do, because I'm a moron. I can't trust my judgment, especially when it comes to reading people when it involves me. Like, I can totally read people when it involves other people. That's super easy. But man, whenever it comes to me, like, I can't do subtlety. I cannot do subtlety. I can't, like, when I'm oblivious to subtlety. I will tell you guys a story about how oblivious to subtlety I am. So when I was in college, way back in the ancient days, so when I was in college, first year, they had this mixer party, and they had music and all that stuff, and people were dancing, and you know, it's really weird. Like, I haven't really ever considered myself like a dancer, and yet, and I guess life has thwarted me when it comes to that type of thing, because I've always been super shy and introverted, and going dancing on the dance floor, that is something an introvert doesn't do. And then of course, the slow songs come, and everyone's got to partner up, and of course I'm just standing there like a dolt, because I ain't got nobody to partner with. But that's that's the thing is, so most of my life I felt like I'm not a dancer. I'm not a dancer person. But I kind of realized, over time that I am a dancing person. I like dancing. And it's a shame that I don't do it more often because I allow fear to, control, you know, I allow fear to control my actions sometimes. And so I don't dance as often as I should because I'm afraid of looking like a fool. I'm afraid of, uh, being like the look at that guy. Oh my God. What a ridiculous, It's like, but I shouldn't be afraid. I should just dance and not give a shit, right? But I'm never that bold. I'm never that bold. But anyway, so going back to the story. So, um, for some reason, there was a lot of, regular straight up dance music. And back then, I was kind of like, you know, rock. I mean, I still am, but like listening to rock, metal. Um, anyways, some, you know, high energy rockin' song kind of came on. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna dance to this because finally a song I really like. So I'm there, I'm dancing, and I'm just having a good time, and I'm not giving a shit, whatever. And the song ends, and I sit back down on a chair. Um, they had drinks there, grabbed a drink, and I'm sitting there and I'm drinking, resting up. And this woman, another student, she sits next to me, and she says like hi, and I'm like, hey, hi, what's up? And she goes, and it's like, I saw you dancing out there to that song. You like that song? It's like, yeah, I like that song. I mean, it's like, oh, so you like a lot of the, talking about the band. It's like, I like some of their things. Yeah, this one was really good, and I liked it. It's like, yeah. and and all of a sudden, like another song that I really liked started playing, and I'm like, so like, well, I'm gonna go dance again, and then just left, and I didn't realize that, she was, you know, introducing herself and talking, and it was an opportunity to make a connection, and maybe, I don't know, but the thing is, I, and when I'm talking about subtlety, that wasn't subtle, and yet still it like went over my head. I was like, whatever. I didn't realize what was happening. So if something as blatant as that goes over my head, then subtlety might as well just you might as well just do nothing if you're going to be subtle, because I'm just not going to pick up on that. You're going to have to like straight up tell me what's up, because I can't take a hint. I don't have a clue. So, if you do something like just yeah, I can't. It's I I don't see it. Maybe because part of it is I'm conditioned to not believe it. And so um but maybe I'm also more of a face value type of guy. But then I start to overthink things, and maybe I don't trust my judgment because I overthink things. And when you start overthinking things, you get yourself lost in the weeds of your thoughts, and then you sort of lose like everything, and you get like, oh, it's this, but maybe it's this, but then maybe it's this, but well, maybe it's this, but maybe subtract that, but add this, but maybe it's that. And then all of a sudden you're just so tied in knots. So all it's going to be fine, bro. Gregory House. Yeah, I mean, things always things can be fine. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Sorry if there was a comment that says all it's going to be fine, bro. And we say that because it's comforting, but we don't know. We don't know. Things could become really, really horrible, but then, we want to believe that they'll be better. Because otherwise, ugh, life without hope is really bad. Once you lose hope, it's basically the beginning of the end. But, anyways, so yeah. So back to the whole thing about like salty and stuff like this. So, and like I said, part of it could just be overthinking. But like, so here's like a situation. So let's say you're in a break room, right? You're in a break room, and you arrive, and someone else is there, and they have some of their personal items on a table, and that table, talk about just like there's small tables, right? So let's just say there's small tables, um, and there's like one chair at that table, but you can fit like four chairs at the table. But most of the time, the tables will just have two chairs, one on, you know, basically across from each other. Well, this one only had one because sometimes people in the break room they take a chair and they move it over and whatever. So so let's say you come there and you're friendly with this person, and you've um, sat at the table with them before, and you've talked and stuff like this. But, you're also the kind of person who's like, I don't like to impose, and I don't like to impose too much. And, sometimes people want to be by themselves and they want to, chill and stuff like that. And so, I'm standing at another table. I put my stuff down, and, they're putting things in lockers and whatever. And I'm just assuming, well, they're gonna sit at that table because they've already got like their personal belongings on that table, and they're gonna sit at that table with the one chair. And so I'm like, okay, that's to me that's a clear sign that they're sitting by themselves. So I'm still haven't committed to sitting where I was sitting. I'm still kind of fidgeting with my personal belongings. And then they finish dealing with what they were dealing with, come back to the table, but instead of sitting at the table, they grab their personal stuff and move to the next table that has two chairs. And at this point, I'm like wondering, like, why did they move to the table with the two chairs? And then I'm like, well, I mean, is that like an invitation? And then so I'm thinking like, but I mean, I've already like, you know, bothered them, in my mind. I've already bothered them by talking to them like a day or two before. And when you have personal time, free time, you don't necessarily always want to have that taken up with people in their idle chit chat and conversations or whatever. So, I was trying to figure out like, well, should I like, say, hey, can I join you? Should I not say like, is this person giving me this opportunity because because they know I'm here, said hi, and stuff like that. Um, but then it's like, if they really wanted to, wouldn't they say, hey, sit with me, or wouldn't they have come over and sat where I was standing, And so this is the point that I'm trying to make, is like I overanalyze everything. And for all I know, it could not be subtlety. It could just be, like that person preferred that table, or that some of the chairs are different, and so some of the chairs are better back support. Maybe that was one of the reasons, was like that table had one of the good chairs, and I could, like I said, I'm just overthinking things, and there was no meaning to it uh, at all, as much as it comes to it concerning me. It was like zero meaning when it comes to me. But then I'm thinking, like, is it not, And so of course I err on the side of doing nothing, because that's what I always do. So I just kind of sat where I had my stuff already, and I said a few things, and she said a few things. Oh, but for the most part, just didn't interact. And then part of me is going, okay, is this the right thing now? Was, they expecting, and it's like, basically my brain just went in all kinds of circles and knots and whatever, trying to dissect everything that was going on there. And so when I say I overanalyze things, that is case in point. I overanalyze things. And so that's why subtlety doesn't work with me, because I think too much about everything, and then end up just like passing it all off as, well, it all means nothing. And so if someone's trying to be subtle, I'm going to maybe pick up on it, but then doubt that I'm picking up on it, and then try to like reason my way through to figure out if it is or isn't, and then just play it safe and go, just assume nothing, and then just, go on my way. Ugh. Now I know why she left me, man, because I'm fucking neurotic. Holy shit. Anyways. Oh my goodness. But that's the thing, is like I need people to like just be direct, If, you're not comfortable talking with me, I need you to say, hey, I'm not comfortable. Shut up. Get the fuck out. But if you want to talk to me, then please come talk to me. Don't wait for me to. But then again, I shouldn't be holding people to higher standards. But then again, I do. When I really want to talk to someone, I go and do it. So I guess I'm not necessarily. But once again, being neurotic. It is a nice night out, though. But that's the thing, is like, so back to the original thing, I'm admitting defeat. I am giving up on that pursuit, because I don't know. Because I truly believe I can't win. And I've known it for a while. I've just been holding on to that sliver of hope, that dream. But it was also causing me a lot of pain, because it hurts. It really does, when you feel something for someone, and it feels like they're pushing you away, and it feels like they're freezing you out. it hurts. It makes you feel bad. And the fact that I don't know 100% where I stand because I need to be told 100% where I stand. But I haven't been courageous enough to ask where I stand. And so I'm always analyzing and probing and trying to figure out where I stand without actually just coming out and saying, hey, where do I stand? Because I don't want to be confrontational and I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't want to create bad situations for the other person. I don't want to be the cause of someone else's grief. I try to avoid doing that for the most part. Oh, we got ourselves a message. Imega VX. It can be like that sometimes. I feel like I want to give up, but I always hold my head up high the morning after. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, no one really wants to give up, but sometimes you have to just be real with yourself too. And, you know, sometimes, and like I said, you know, earlier is, you know, I felt like I've thrown in the towel way too quickly in some of the fights in my life. And I've given up too quickly. And it's kind of like, you know, this fight was kind of like how I was going to be like this is the line in the sand. This is the one that I'm going to like see through to the bitter end. The problem is you just have to. It was tearing me apart. Honestly, it was tearing me apart. It was creating a hole in my heart, or well, I already had a hole in my heart. It was just making the hole in my heart bigger because I felt like I was being like unpersoned in a very slow and excruciating manner. And so that was it was being very difficult for me, especially the last couple months. Um, it's been highly emotional, and I think I was reaching a kind of breaking point within my soul because of it, and that I just had to let go and give up because the fight itself was wearing me. And it sucks because, I would love to like continue to fight. I would love to continue to believe that I had a chance or I have a chance, that I could turn things around, that I could, make, a dream come true, to make, achieve a goal of mine, to obtain one of the things that have been very elusive to me in my life, a part of my existence that has been missing for a long time. And it's hard to give up on something like that. It's hard to give up on a dream, and it's hard to, feel like you're back to square zero again, especially when it's been so long, um, so long, since you've had like these opportunities. Let's see, another message. I like to think that God gives me these challenges to develop my character. It's not always easy, but it helps to think of these things as tough self-improvement. Well, I understand where you're coming from with that. Um, these character building moments, but I've had a lot of character building moments in my life, and apparently I haven't built enough character. So I need more, I guess. I don't know. But the thing is, it's discouraging, and especially, the time of my life right now, it feels like I don't have opportunities to fight the good fight. And that's another thing, is like the fear that, like, maybe this was my best chance. Maybe this was my final chance. Before I have to, like, settle for um, anyone who says yes, which, ugh. But then I guess the question is, would anyone ever say yes? And that's like, the grand fear. But the thing is, like, yeah, I should be more courageous in my life. I should start dancing more with abandon, and not give a shit about what people think or what people care. Act a fool all I want. Maybe someone will see not a fool on the dance floor, but somebody they might be interested in. I don't know. That's the thing. But yeah, I don't want to dance alone. I would much prefer to have someone to dance with. That's the thing. And I have been nursing this bottle of cider for, man, about an hour. It's starting to get a little warm. But, yeah. I just feel like, where do I go from here? I don't know. Oh, another message. I know where you're coming from. A life spent on our lonesome can be a peaceful life. We lost our chance, but we can always be happy in our own ways. Yeah. Peaceful on the outside, but there's always a lot of inner turmoil. At least for me, man, it is a raging storm within myself. But probably because I'm a really passionate person. I don't know if you've watched any of my videos, but when I talk about movies that I like, movies that I love, I really like to talk about them. I really like to talk, like, get in depth and really, just go at it. And that's the thing, is like, I love deeply, but I also hurt deeply. So it's, there's a fire that rages, the flames, el pasión. Anyways. And I know happiness shouldn't be contingent on whether or not you're with someone or not with someone, but the thing is, sharing life experiences have always been more enjoyable than experiencing things by myself. Watching a movie with a friend is much time or is much better than watching a movie by yourself. Oh, got another message. I've been a long time watcher. I'm the same way with Gundam and Magic the Gathering. I've chosen the lonesome life, and my passions keep me company. I know my life can change. Sadness isn't forever. Yeah. The thing about Magic, though, is you really can't play it by yourself. I mean, yeah, there are some variations and there's some things that you can do and set up, but man, Magic is a lot more fun when you're playing against somebody, playing against a bot. I play Arena, by the way. I don't know if you've seen any of the streams where I've played Arena, but yeah, I've played Arena. Magic's fun. I do miss paper Magic, but I'm also, I've got bills to pay, so Arena is fine because I don't have to spend lots and lots of money to get the cards I need for the deck. But I definitely miss the going to like pre-releases, doing like drafts. I used to draft every week way back in the day. It was like every Sunday there was a draft at this comic place, or no, actually it was a sports card place. Yeah, and it was fun. It was great. Now I kind of miss the banter and the interactions, because when you're playing Arena, you don't really get to talk outside of the freaking emojis and. But I like collecting cards. I've spent thousands this late. Yeah. See, I collect movies. I've spent thousands on movies. Holy crap. Tell you. Yeah. I'm still waiting for the universes beyond Evil Dead. Friday the 13th. Boof. They had their chance, Duskmorn. They had their chance. But anyways. Of course, you know what allows me to spend thousands of dollars on movies? Not having a girlfriend. Because I guarantee you, if I had a girlfriend, most of that money be spent on her. I guess her loss. But oh yeah. I mean, they could totally do evil because we're all about those transforming double face cards, and it's like, yeah, you can have like Deadite versions of Deadite Ash, Deadite Baba Joe. Anyways, all right, well, I'm almost done with this. There is last of the cider. It is done. Took me an hour to drink a single bottle of cider. Well, you have a good evening or day. I have both. Have a good evening followed by a good day. And don't worry about me. One thing, the one constant in my life, besides disappointment, is that I endure. And I'll endure this because I have no choice but to endure it. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not I'm going to get drunk with friends. This vodka will destroy my liver. Well, I mean, at least you're using vodka, a very sophisticated and refined liquor, not as messy and as random as something like rum or gin. I'm definitely a vodka person, but I am also a whiskey person, but we're not talking about that cheap garbage. I'm talking about like fine stuff like scotch, single malt, like some Glenfiddich, nice stuff. But go go have fun with your friends. Don't drink too much. Remember to drink water also. It'll help you not get a hangover. But, good night. Salute. Now I am alone again. Well, anyways. I should probably call it. Also, try to get some rest. Wake up and watch some movies tomorrow. Contemplate what's gonna be next. But I do love her. I still do. But I have to give up. I have to give up. Means what she wants. But I mean, I guess going back to, it feels unfair because it just seemed it was like so easy for her to win my heart. And it seems so impossible for me to win hers. Like it just seemed like all she had to do was be herself and be there, and that was enough to make me fall for her. And I wish I could I wish someone could fall for me that way, by me just being myself and being there. But in the end, I'm not enough. I'm not enough to do that. I have to do other things. I have to prove myself in many, many other ways. maybe that's part of the problem, is that I feel like I have to be something more than what I am. And so I end up trying to be something more than I am. And maybe that's why I fail. But it just feels like being just me is not good enough. Because it never was before. So why would it start being now? I don't know. And I feel like someone once said that I deserve to be loved. I never quite believe it. Because if I deserved to be loved, then wouldn't I be loved? So in other words, I don't really deserve it yet. Alas. Such are the problems of mediocre man. I just gotta stop falling in love with spectacular women. But maybe it's because they're spectacular I fall in love with them. What a mess. What an absolute mess. Oh well. It is a lovely night though. Yeah. Good night, everyone. I will talk to you next time. Ja mata ne.